All right. So here we are again, as in golden days. Happy golden days of yore, something like that. Christmas in February. So, what's going on? It's Monday, so no guests, just me and you in the same room virtually. So we have some things to talk about. We're going to chat. But first and foremost, my name is Joél Casanova. I am the creator and founder of Beat Hunter Dance, and this talk show exists to help your dance journey be healthy, productive, and 100% yours. This whole talk show is about dance journey, and so I figured I would talk about my dance journey, like the introduction to my dance journey for a second, because I'm the one running the talk show, and if you don't know who I am, it kind of defeats the purpose. Anyways, I had a conversation the other day about dancing in general. My friend was like, "Hey, how does this thing work for you? You're a dancer. How do you know what to do, when to do it, how you're doing it?" And I was like, "That's a great question." So be quiet. But what I realized is there's kind of like this life cycle of a dancer, like a loop that I went through. The first stage is like just moving. And so that's like every child ever, right? It's just like pure chaotic movement. They're just going at it. Music is playing. So anytime I would dance before I officially started my dance journey, I officially started getting training, I was just moving. I have I had an MP3 when I was young. And if you don't know what an MP3 is, that's okay. They're dead now. It's just like a little player. It didn't connect to the internet. It wasn't an iPod. It was just like a generic MP3 player. I would just play MP3s, MP3 player, right? So just audio files, essentially, songs. And then I remember just moving around my house, not really trying to do anything, but moving because music was playing, right? There was no structure to it. There was no organization. It was just going at it because music is playing. I didn't even really know that dancing was like an official world, like a thing that you could get into. I was just kind of hanging out. One of the one of the songs I specifically remember dancing to was "All Night Long" by Lionel Richie. And if you don't know who Lionel Richie is or "All Night Long" is, that's okay. I hope he's not dead. I don't know if he's dead or not. But if you grew up listening to him, you're probably old. It's okay. It's like an 80s song. So the point is, when I was dancing to that, I have this very specific memory of listening to that song, walking through a hallway in my house, going to my room, and like moving. But I wasn't trying to express myself or do anything. It was just this natural instinct that I feel like everyone is born with as a kid or as a baby. Like you just put on music and you're moving, right? And then you kind of get into this other thing, like, oh, I have like arms and legs and hands. And that kind of came to me when I was at a church and they had a kids choir, but then they added in a dance team when my family moved to that church. And I was like, sure, let's do it, right? They had like auditions, and I don't even remember what happened in the audition. What I do remember is when they called out who had made the dance team for the audition. And so all the kids were in like one room and they were calling out names. I don't think it was the first name, but I like a couple names in. They're like Joél Casanova, and I stood up in the little cafeteria we were in, and I was like, "Cool!" Like like when you make something or you do something good or you get into a team, you're like, "Yeah," but like I remember specifically getting up and being like, I don't know what this means. Like, I don't know what I just got myself into. I just kind of out of a whim did it. And so the guy who ran it was this guy named Mr. Tony. And Mr. Tony was basically in charge of giving us choreography to do performances. We actually performed in front of like the church and like the different congregations, like conferences and things that we would do. And so he knew how to dance. Obviously, he was the one doing things, but that wasn't like his thing. Like, he just knew how to dance. He wasn't necessarily a choreographer. But that was like introduction to my structure. I was like, okay, I'm not just dancing in the hallway into my house or through my house. I was like getting like, okay, I can put these things in order. I have like arm, leg, arm. You know, like I'm doing things that have a structure to them. They have like choreography to them. And that was like kind of hit a pinnacle when he brought another person in. His name was Fenton Fulgham. Fenton Fulgham was my teacher growing up, but before he was my teacher, he was just some guy that came in and gave choreography to this children's dance team, right? He was a choreographer. That was his thing. Like, he was super passionate about it. He loved teaching it. He loved making it. Like, dance was his life. And like, first of all, that was super infectious. I was like, I like this guy. He's so fun. And then he gave us choreography that was like legit. Like, it was super legit choreography. Like, that was his thing. And he obviously tailored it to us as kids. But I was like, I want to do this. And at that time, he was starting his own dance studio with the youth pastor named Kevin, Mr. Kevin. Right? So he's like, hey, we're tightening up. We're making this dance studio. You guys should all join. He was handing out business cards, like, tell your parents, of course. And so I had that card, and I was like, yes, this is the key to the universe. And I told my mom about it, and I was like, Mom, we got to do this thing. It's going to be awesome. We just learned this choreography. It was going to be great, blah, blah, blah. So it was like a period of time, like maybe a year. I was like 11. Okay. So around like 12, 13, depending on when my birthday was, I waited like a year until I was like 12, 13 to join the studio. That was like the third like phase of like a loop that dancers go through. So you have like just random movement. I'm moving through my house. I'm just kind of hanging out. Then I kind of get this structure that's like, okay, we can actually like do this thing in like an order, in like an intentional way, which was fun. And then we get into the third phase, which is like, I'm learning like choreography, and I'm like mastering my body to get these moves of this choreography. And that's why I always refer to Revelation Dance Studio was the name of the studio that Fenton started with Kevin. So at Revelation Dance Studio, I've always referred to it as my boot camp, right? I was not just learning moves, like we were training our bodies, which is exactly what I needed personally, because I had the passion. I had the disinhibition to be like, hey, I'm just going to move. Like, it's going to happen. Let's do this. Music is playing. Let's go. I had just found like a passion of mine that was like crazy. Like, I loved dancing. I was like super passionate about it. What I needed was the training and like the boot camp mentality of like, when I say do this, don't just when I say put your arm to the side, don't just randomly put your arm to the side. Do it exactly how I do it, exactly when I do it, exactly in the way that I did it, to this beat in the music. And so I'm like, oh, this is crazy, right? I was in something called F Troop. F Troop was the competition team. So it wasn't just like recreational classes, right? It was very much like, we're competing with this, so this has to be good, right? We're literally competing with the things that we're doing right now. And I was like, okay, right? Because I'd perform, but it was always super low key. It was like church stuff. You know, like we were performing in front of people that we knew we were we were performing in front of churches, so we were dancing and different stuff. But competition is like there's other dance studios, there's other performance venues, we're getting judged by like this panel of judges that we didn't know. Like we're like in my 12, 13, 14-year-old mind, I was like, this is the real world. Like I had no idea anything else outside of this. And it's like we're like, do this move, perfect this move, perform this move, right? And so the perfection was what I needed, because I was like chiseling away and getting this foundation that I really, really needed, right? I wasn't just dancing, the training was what was happening. This is the aside, is like, this is like where the off ramp of the loop happens, right? There's 4 parts of the loop. You have just pure chaotic movement, right? Then you have like introduction to your body, like awareness that you have like arms and hands. And that's usually where people start taking dance classes. That's where I started taking dance classes, like at my church. And then we get into this like moves, like boot camp structuring, chiseling into like building the muscle for dance. And the off ramp is there because a lot of people, that's where they stop the loop. They're like, I have the ability to do choreography or dancing, and when my choreographer gives me moves, I will do those moves, and then that's it. We're done, right? Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but there's more that you can do from yourself. It's like, which is what I was doing when we were at Revelation. When I was at Revelation and we were in like rehearsals, I would always be freestyling and like doing improv by myself, because I was like, I can't not move. This can't be where it stops, right? Which most other people were like, you're such a show off, because I was like freestyling, whatever, which kind of hurt, to be honest. But it was like, I didn't stop, not because I was trying to be a show off, but because I'm like, do you guys not feel what I'm feeling? Like this, what? How do you not move when music is playing? Like, we were dancing to choreography, but I was like freestyling and dancing to choreography. And so a lot of dancers will stop the loop there because, first of all, it's hard, right? You're trying to create something out of your own self. And so you get these dancers who are like masters at choreography, and they're incredible at what they do, but they're like, don't ask me to freestyle. Like, don't ask me to make things up or make decisions on this. That's scary. And I'm like, but you have all the ability to freestyle. I don't understand, which is why I know it now as like a professional dancer. But like back then, I was looking at people who are my age. We were like all freshmen or like 8th grade, like 8th grade or freshman in high school, right? So I was like just seeing it at the knowledge level that I knew it from. And I'm like, how do you not? I don't understand how you're not freestyling. I don't get it. And now looking back, I've trained dancers who I've trained them in like freestyling choreography. I'm like, it makes sense, right? This is a hard like wall to get over. But I was freestyling in the studio, at my house, in the park, in random alleyways in Plano, Texas, where I grew up. Like, I was doing it everywhere. I would take little camcorders and things and record myself and post it to YouTube. Like, I was constantly, I stayed in the loop because I was like not just stopping at moves. So once you get past moves, you get into this improv choreography layer, right? If you don't just go off the loop, you continue into this area where you're like, I'm making up my own moves because I have the structure and I'm deciding to move how I want to move, doing the things. And so you're slowly kind of going back to movement, right? You have chaotic movement, you have awareness, you have moves. Then you get here and we're kind of circling back to this, not chaotic movement, because you have all the training. So I'm like getting back into just moving my body without any specific intention, but I have all the structure that I got with choreography. So that's when I was like unintentionally practicing freestyling or improv. And I kept on practicing unintentionally until I got to another studio called Hip Hop Nation. And Hip Hop Nation, first of all, it was in the middle of nowhere. And it was in like a random warehouse in the middle of nowhere. So I basically, like, my second studio was like a scene from Step Up. Okay, my life was Step Up. That's what I'm saying. Like, we were doing choreography, but though the people at Hip Hop Nation were like freestyling, they were dancing, they wanted to do it professionally, like they were like honing their craft in that way. And my friend Eric Mitchell, shout out to Eric Mitchell, he was my ride to the studio because it was in the middle of nowhere. So my mom would meet him halfway. I'd get in his car. We'd drive another 1,000 hours because everything's far in Texas. And I'd always get there early because he would get there early to prepare for his classes. He taught 2 of them back to back, 2 hip hop classes, Hip Hop Nation, hip hop classes, right? So I was so used to taking both classes and being there early watching him prepare. And so one day we're in the car and he's like, so guess what? And I'm like, what, Eric? Being very ignorant of what he was about to say. And he's like, I'm not prepared for either of my classes. And I was like, that sounds like a personal problem. What are you going to do? And he was like, we are going to teach the classes. You're going to teach the first class and I'm going to teach the second class. Because it was like intermediate, then advanced. That's usually how the classes went. And I was like, what? No, I've never choreographed ever in my life. No. And he was like, yes, get to it. So we were like in the alleyway behind the studio. He was on one side of the alley. I was on the other side of the alley. The first 30 minutes was me just panicking. At that point, I had upgraded from an MP3 player to an iPod. Wow. It was actually an iTouch, which was like the precursor to like, it was an iPod, but it was like touchscreen. Whoa. It wasn't a phone either. There was no phone to it. It was just a touchscreen thing that I could play music on. This is like caveman technology right now. So I'm the first 30 minutes, I'm just panicking. And I'm like, I've never done this before. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to choose this. I'm pretending to choose a song by scrolling through all my songs and just putting them on shuffle and be like, But the thing is, I knew how to freestyle. I had been practicing freestyling and improv and creating things by myself. I continued freestyling while I was learning choreography. So I knew choreography and I had done my boot camp and I had the body control to create choreography and do choreography. So what I was doing at that moment was putting them together for the first time. I knew how to do choreography and I knew how to improv. So I was now solidifying my freestyling into choreography, which is kind of what everyone does ever. If you're making choreography, you have to freestyle. You have to make up the moves before you actually put them together. I didn't know that, but I was like, okay, like the synapses in my mind were like connecting for the first time. I danced to Give It to Me, Take It From Me, Take It to Me. You gonna take it from me. It was from a remix to a song by Family Force 5. Okay, Family Force 5 is a super old Christian rock band, but someone had remixed one of their songs, so it was like this electronic, like poppy kind of thing. He put like the auto tune on it, and he had like electronic, like synth noises and stuff. It was fire. I haven't heard it in a million years, so it might not be fire to me now, but it was fire when I was listening to it. So I make the choreography. I'm in the alleyway. I was preparing for it. We come in. The first people come for the class, which were just my friends, really. And so like he's like, hey, guess what? Joel is teaching the first class, and I'll be teaching the second class. And at that point, I was still in a fever dream, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Can I do this? But I was like, at that point, we're going through it. So I wasn't really teaching, right? It was my first time teaching, but I wasn't really teaching. I was just going through the choreography. I was just walking them through the choreography I had just made like 30 minutes ago. At that time, I was taking sign language in high school. So I was actually um, incorporating sign language into the choreography, right? So I was like doing choreography, I was doing sign language, I was teaching for the first time, which was really just walking them through the steps. And halfway through the class, I forget that I was stressed. I'm just going at it, and we're just playing the music and going through the choreography, learning. And so we end the class, and everyone really enjoyed it. I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was so terrified. And that's when my teacher was like, well, not my teacher. Eric was my teacher, technically. The director of the studio, who's kind of hands off, she kind of let us run the studio, kind of, because obviously I'm a kid paying for classes, but then I'm also teaching, right? And so she was like, that was really good. Have you ever considered like doing this? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like doing this professionally, like teaching classes, making choreography, like people do this for a living. Like they go around and they teach classes and they do choreography. Do you not know this? And I'm like, no. Like I thought it was just my friends in like a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, my second studio. Like it's a Step Up movie. Like this isn't real. Like no one does this outside of this. And she's like, no, people do this like internationally. Like people go around doing the thing. And so I'm like, yes, please, please and thank you. I had no idea that was a thing. And to this day, I am still doing that. I'm freestyling and I'm making choreography out of the freestyling, but I stayed on the loop. The 4 parts of the loop are movement, body awareness, moves, and then freestyling choreography. And then you keep going. Like I'm still going back to movement. I'm still getting training. I'm still getting awareness of myself. I'm taking classes from other people, taking other genres like Latin and contemporary and modern and ballet. And I'm like learning my body and the ways my body can move. I get the actual moves themselves, but I'm not falling off the loop. I'm continuing the loop. So I'm now freestyling with Latin. I'm freestyling with contemporary. I'm freestyling with modern. I'm freestyling with ballet. And then the loop starts all over again. And this is a loop that everyone goes through. Like everyone who's a dancer that's watching this live goes through that process. Unless they get off the loop, right? Or they stop their dance journey, which is unfortunate. But you can. I don't suggest you do it. I'm also very biased, but it's objectively better for you to continue with your dance journey. It's just, dance is amazing. And so that whole story kind of brings me back to like, this is where I started, right? The Covenant Church dance team into, well, just chaotically moving through my house, listening to my MP3 player, antiquated technology, then the Covenant Church, like my church's children's dance team, and then going to a studio and getting that refinement, and then getting to freestyling and training in freestyling, to then making that freestyling choreography. And like that set me up. Like those things happened in that order to set me up to do what I do now today. And I would love to have like, I probably will in the future, go through my whole dance journey, because there's so much that happened in between all those things. But that introduction to my dance journey got me to where I'm at today and set me on a trajectory. So I would suggest that you do, let me say not what it's not, live in the moment of where you are in your dance journey, and then accept the transitions that are coming, right? I mean, there's even people on this live chat on Instagram that I've taught before. And it's like, you are where you are right now. And if you start freestyling by yourself, if you start like making choreography, no one needs to know. But that's a transition that you're going through. Just let it happen, right? You're like, today I'm 5 foot. Tomorrow I'm 5'1". The next day I'm 5'2". Am I trying to make this happen? Not necessarily. I drink milk and vegetables, I mean, the greens that my mom tells me to. But like, I'm not trying to grow. You just are. And so like the journey that I officially started at like 11 years old, I'm now doing 19, 18 years later, math, 30, almost 30, right? Like there's this journey that we started that happens, and you're just going through it, and this is going to inform you later on in your dance journey, and you look back and be like, that's exactly what happened. So when I talked to my friend that made me remember how I started dancing, this is what came out, and I'm like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. So later on I'm going to go through my whole dance journey, and that's going to be very fun and very cathartic. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing, keep growing, keep staying on brand with yourself. Like I'm still dancing the way I'm supposed to be dancing. I'm just better at it now because I've been doing it for longer. So there is a benefit to hearing other people's stories like mine and putting that in context of the training that you're getting. So for me, I am teaching a class for hip hop musicality specifically. Anyone can join. It doesn't matter what age you are, what level you are, where you are in your dance journey. If you don't freestyle, if you do freestyle, if you are just trying to get control of your body because you're passionate about dancing, hip hop musicality is like a thorough overview of your body specifically for hip hop, right? So you're learning the body control you need for hip hop, so you can have musicality and you can move, which means you can move to the music with control, right? You're intentionally moving in these different kinds of way. Today's Monday. The class is tonight at 7 p.m. That mental, physical connection we have with dance also helps when it comes to mindset and application, right? So if you're thinking like, I'm allowing myself to grow, you're like, you know what? Let me just try this live stream that Joél is doing. And you'll find out and look back and think like, oh, like like that was a piece of my dance journey. Excuse me. That was a piece of my dance journey that totally informed where I'm at today, right? So I'm going to throw up all the information about that class afterwards. Wednesday, we're going to have another guest. So tune in again around noon, 1 o'clock. And here's the information. I hope to see you tonight, and have a great day.